The Superior Court of Palm Beach County is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marks presiding. God save the state in this honorable court.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
Please be seated. Good to see we have our usual good turnout for this event. This is fantastic. And I heard from Judge Weiss, who's just in here talking to me in the back, that apparently you're going to have to go a little ways to top the last round because it's apparently very good. So congratulations to you guys, prepping well. And is everybody ready for the second round? Looks like it. Not hearing any objections. Call the case.
State versus Barbara Allen Barrett.
All right, and if we could go around the room, starting with the state, and please introduce yourselves.
Silvana Espinola.
Spell the last name.
E-S-P-I-N-D-O-L-A.
Very good, thank you.
Andrew Walden.
W-A-L.
W-E-L-D-O-N.
Very good.
Matthew Holman,
Spell.
H-O-L-M-A-N.
Excellent. For the defense,
Samuel Cooper.
Mr. Cooper.
Isaiah McDaniel.
McDaniel. And who do we have here?
Barbara Barrett.
Very good, Ms. Barrett. Ms. Barrett, have you had enough time to work with your defense team? And are you satisfied with their performance so far?
Yes.
And have you discussed entering a plea in this case? All right, and are you in agreement with your counsel? All right, who will be entering a plea on behalf of the defendant? Mr. Cooper?
The defense enters a plea of not guilty of acting insanity.
All right. And has notice been given to the state that you'd be proceeding on insanity?
Yes, sir.
State is nodding affirmatively. Excellent. As is required in law. All right, are there any pretrial motions that we need to hear in advance?
No, sir.
Nothing from the state?
No, sir.
Anything from defense?
No, sir.
Very good. All right, one of the things that we ensure that we do here is we maintain civility. And what you'll find is that in the Palm Beach County Bar and throughout the state of Florida, we intend to maintain civility. So we expect the highest performance out of our lawyers and everyone in the courtroom, and we will expect nothing less from you folks. All right, so I look forward to a good professional trial. All questions should be addressed to the court, me, not to each other, and no crosstalk. Okay, if you have any issues, bring them up with the court with an objection. All right, we good with that? Nodding affirmatively, yes. All right, no pretrial motions. Do we want to make opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, who goes first, state or defense?
Your Honor, may it please the court?
May Ms. Espindola. Sorry, I'm going to mispronounce that a couple of times, but I'll get it.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are here today to prove that Ms. Barrett did intentionally murder her husband, Mr. Barrett. Our witnesses, Ms. Porter, Joe Armay, and C.M. Cheney, are here today. Ms. Porter is Barrett's housekeeper and does not like to get in other people's business, but will provide us with useful facts. On the day of the shooting, there was a sound of a car backfiring in the backyard. Then Ms. Barrett was seen coming in through the rarely used side door with a gun. All these things did not accidentally happen. On the night of December 18, 1988, Ms. Barrett was desperately waiting for her husband, Mr. Barrett. Finally, he got home at around 9. Luckily, he was not drinking, so he was calm. Then they sat down at the dinner table when Mr. Barrett told Mrs. Barrett that he wanted a divorce. Ms. Barrett sadly got up and went into the living room, accompanied by Mr. Barrett. Then she said something like, "You'll be sorry for this," and shot him. Mr. Barrett, leaving the living room, going into the dining room, where Miss Porter saw Mr. Barrett with with a bloody leg and a bloody note in his hand. Miss Porter desperately left the house. Then Miss Barrett insanely shot Mr. Barrett 4 more times, leading him to his death. Barbara Allen Barrett is without a doubt insane and guilty of first-degree murder. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Espindola. And Mr. Holman, are you doing opening for defense?
May it please the court.
Please.
Mr. Cooper.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and members of the opposing counsel. My name is Tim Cooper, and I am an attorney for the defense. My client, Barbara Barrett, has been wrongfully accused of murdering her husband, John Walker Barrett, whom she clearly said that she could not live without in premeditated murder. Our job as a defense today is to successfully prove to you, the judge and jury, that my client is not guilty of the crime because she was suffering from a psychological condition called battered woman syndrome. The witness, Dan McGuire, is an expert on this condition. According to him, battered woman syndrome is a condition where a woman, such as Barbara Barrett, is in an abusive and battering relationship with a man. In Barbara Barrett's witness statement, she describes her battered life with John Barrett, who was indeed an abusive husband and could not control his temper. On the night of the incident, John Barrett came home late. Understandably, Barbara Barrett was upset at her husband being home late. At some point that night, John Barrett told his loyal wife, Barbara, that he wanted to divorce her and marry someone else. From the viewpoint of Barbara, the man whom she had stayed loyal to and loved through everything had betrayed her, and she realized the truth. The truth that she had been married to someone for so long, only to be deceived in the end. According to Dana McGuire, Barbara Barrett could have no more controlled her actions that controlled the rising of the sun in the morning than control her actions that night, so she shot and killed her husband. When Officer Cheney arrived at the scene, she had locked herself in a downstairs bathroom and was crying hysterically. So today I ask you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, to not allow my client to suffer anymore and to submit a verdict of not guilty by means of insanity. Thank you.
Thank you. State, call your first witness.
Your Honor, we would like to call CM Cheney to the witness stand.
Please raise your right hand. Sir?
Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to the court and jury in this trial shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
May I have a seat up there? Very good. Who'll be doing the direct?
I will, Your Honor.
Very good. Mr. Walden? Thank you.
Would you please state your name for the court?
CM Cheney.
And Mr. Cheney, what is your profession?
I'm a police officer for the Milton County Police Department.
And how long have you worked for the Mountain County Police Department?
Since 1982, 6 years.
Okay, and do you have any experience at the scene of a crime?
I do.
What do you experience at?
I'm experienced at preserving evidence and questioning witnesses, especially suspects.
And when did you receive the call on the night of December 18th, 1988?
Around 9:50 p.m.
Then what time did you arrive at the scene of the crime?
9:57.
And once you arrived at the scene of the crime, what did you see?
I saw Miss Porter, who told me everything that had happened. Then I walked into the house, and I saw a bloody body with a gun and a note next to it.
And who questioned Mrs. Barrett?
I did.
What was the result of questioning her?
She admitted that she murdered her husband.
Since you were the one that questioned her, did you read her the Miranda warnings prior to questioning her?
I do not recall reading her the Miranda warnings, but she did sign in my presence the confession with officer's warnings paper that proves that I did read her the Miranda warnings.
And was Mrs. Barrett forced to sign anything?
I had not forced her to sign anything or make her any promises that she would receive a lighter sentence before signing anything.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
May it please the court.
Good man, Mr. Cooper.
Is it correct that you were the officer dispatched to the scene of the crime?
Yes.
When did you receive the call?
9:50 p.m.
And when did you arrive at the scene of the crime?
9:57.
What signs of disorder did you find within the home?
I found a bloody corpse with blood stains on the couch and on the floor, and a bloody note and a gun next to the body.
Did you find a window in the kitchen?
I do not recall.
Where did you find the deceased?
In the dining room.
Is it correct that you found a bullet in the wall near the deceased?
Correct.
You found a gun near the deceased, correct?
Yes.
Where did you find the accused, Barbara Berry?
In the downstairs bathroom.
And when you found the accused, what was her condition?
She was crying hysterically.
When you took the accused back to the police station, you were the officer who questioned her, correct?
Yes.
Do you distinctly remember reading Barbara Berry the Miranda warnings before you took the statement?
I do not recall, but I did. But she did sign in my presence the officers with warning, the confession with officers warning paper that proved I did.
Did Barbara Berry call anyone before or after you took the statement?
I think she called her sister and her lawyer.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. May this witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may step down. Next witness.
Your Honor, we would like to call Joe Armay to the witness stand.
Thank you, Ms. Espandola. And I'm sorry, this witness is?
Joe Armay.
Very good, thank you.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to the court and jury in this trial shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Your Honor, may it please the court?
Please.
State your name for the court.
My name is Joe Armay.
What is your profession?
I am a pathologist.
Can you describe the body?
The body was a well-developed, well-nourished, middle-aged male that was 74 inches tall, weighed 184 pounds.
How old was Mr. Barrett?
Mr. Barrett was 48 years old.
How many shots were fired at the body?
6 shots were fired, but only 5 hit Mr. Barrett.
Where were the shots fired on the body?
One hit his left arm, 1 hit his right leg, 2 hit his back, and 1 hit his head.
What was the cause of death?
The cause of death was the shot to the posterior portion of the cranium.
According to your witness statement, there was an absence of powder marks. What does this imply?
The absence of powder marks implies that the muzzle of the gun was more than 2 feet away when the shots were fired.
What degree angle were the 2 shots at the back?
The 2 shots to the back were fired at a 45-degree angle.
Where do the blood stains start in CM Chaney's diagrams of the house?
They started on the couch.
Where did Mr. Barrett end up?
Mr. Barrett ended up in the dining room.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Prosecutor.
Please report.
Mr. Holmes. Or Mr. Cooper, I'm sorry.
Is it correct that you were the physician who performed the autopsy on the deceased?
Yes.
When you examined the body, how many bullet wounds did you find?
I found 5.
Where were the bullet wounds located?
1 was to the left arm, 1 to the right leg, 2 to the back, and 1 to the head.
Would you agree that the shot to the head was the fatal shot?
Yes.
Would you agree that the fatal shot to the head was fired when the victim was lying down?
Yes.
Did you find any powder marks on the body?
No.
What does the absence of powder marks indicate?
The absence of the powder marks implies that the muzzle of the gun was more than 2 feet away when the shots were fired.
Did you find any pre-existing abnormalities to the body?
I do not recall.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, may this witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. May. Next witness, state.
Your Honor, we would like to call Ms. Porter to the witness stand.
Very good. Ms. Porter.
Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to the court and jury in this trial shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Your Honor, may it please the court?
Please.
Please state your name.
Lee Porter.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I'm 47 years old and I've been working as a housekeeper as long as I can remember.
Where were you on the night of December 18, 1988?
I was at the Barrett's house
Why were you at the Barrett's house?
because I'm their housekeeper.
What do you do as their housekeeper?
I cook, clean, organize, and whatever else needs to be done around the house.
What are your normal work hours?
2 to 10 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday.
How long have you been working for the Barretts?
About 6 months now.
Have you noticed anything weird with the Barretts?
Well, they're always tense with each other, and Mrs. Barrett cried a lot, especially the weeks before John's death.
Was Mr. Barrett easily angered?
He would throw a fork or something if I did not cook dinner the way he liked it, but he always apologized to me.
How much did Mr. and Mrs. Barrett fight?
A lot, actually, but I only heard them because they were always in the bedroom.
Have you ever heard Miss Barrett yell or scream after an argument?
Yes, but it was only once, and I didn't see any signs of trauma the next day.
How was Miss Barrett acting the weeks before his death? Mr. Barrett.
He came home late a lot, but that was all I noticed.
What state of mind was Mr. Barrett in when he came home the night of the shooting?
He was pretty calm, probably because he had not been drinking that night, as far as I could tell.
What did Mr. Barrett say to Mrs. Barrett at dinner?
He told her that he was going to leave her that night.
What was Miss Barrett's reply before she left the dining room?
She said that she would be sorry, but it was hard for me to tell because I was in the kitchen.
What happened after you heard the gunshots?
Mr. Barrett came crawling into the dining room with a piece of paper in his hand. He, as well as the piece of paper, was bloody, and then Mrs. Barrett came running into the dining room with a gun in her hand. That was when I ran out.
What was Miss Barrett doing earlier the day of the shooting?
She was in the backyard making noises that sounded like a car firing, the same noises I heard before John came crawling into the dining room. Then she came in through the private door that she never uses with a gun in her hand.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross? Mr. McDonald? Did I get that name wrong?
That's McDaniel.
McDaniel, I'm sorry. Thank you. And please correct me if I get it wrong.
You work for the Barretts, correct?
Correct.
You work for them 5 days a week, correct?
About, yes.
You knew something was wrong with their marriage, correct?
Yes, I did.
Is it true you heard Barbara scream in your bedroom once?
Yes,
Mr. Barrett sometimes did not like what you fixed, correct?
correct.
Please tell the jury what you heard Mr. Barrett say to Mrs. Barrett on the night of the shooting.
He told her that he was going to leave her.
Mr. Barrett had a letter in his hand, correct?
Correct.
You called the police, correct?
I did not.
You escaped the house through a window, correct?
A door.
You heard sounds like a car backfiring that day, correct?
Correct.
You have been caught stealing before, correct?
Correct.
Have you ever been put on probation before?
Yes, but I was wrongfully accused.
That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, may this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. State, next witness?
We would like to call Dana McGuire to the stand.
You would? How about we see if the state's going to rest first?
Yes, Your Honor, we'd like to arrest her.
Very good, all right. They're going to arrest her, so. Mr. McDaniel, does the defense want to call witness? Very good. Any motions prior? Thank you. And your witness is?
Dana McGuire.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to the court and jury in this trial shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Sit down.
Please state your name.
Dan McGuire,
How old are you?
42.
What degree do you have?
I have a master's degree in psychology,
What college did you go to?
Campbell University.
Have you ever dealt with any other back woman syndrome cases before?
I've dealt with over 300 cases of battered woman syndrome.
What is battered woman syndrome?
A definition of battered woman syndrome is any woman who has been forcibly subjected to any physical or psychological actions.
How many cycles of battered woman syndrome are there?
There are 3.
What are they?
During the first stage of battered woman syndrome, tensions begin to mount, and there are a few instances of minor verbal and physical abuse. In the second stage, the man releases an unbearable amount of tension, which results in psychological and physical damage. In the third and final stage, the man becomes loving contrite, usually in an attempt to make up for his past abusive behavior. At this point, the woman sees the man as a small child who is honestly sorry for what he's done and just needs his forgiveness. Secretly, the man thinks that he's taught the woman a lesson and will not have to be more abusive in the future. This cycle continues until one of the spouses are either dead or they are divorced.
Is Barbara Barrett a victim to bad woman syndrome?
Yes.
Is Barbara's situation how they usually end?
Yes.
Did you ever meet with her before the trial?
I met with her 3 times for several hours a month after the incident.
That is all I know.
Thank you. Cross.
May it please the court.
Thank you, Mr. Holman.
Do you think Mrs. Barrett is insane?
Yes.
So you don't think she's capable of clear thinking?
No.
She's not capable of clear thinking?
No.
You said in your witness statement that a woman you interviewed shot her husband in the head 4 times, and she thought he would recover because the headshot wounds were not severe. How can you explain this?
Because of her constant relying on him, she couldn't imagine living without him, so she basically tried her best to make the best of her situation.
You interviewed Barbara Barrett, correct?
Yes.
You said it was like the classic BWS cycle, correct?
Yes.
So you think it's normal for a woman that has been beaten to shoot her husband 5 times while he is defenseless?
Yes.
Also, do you think Mrs. Barrett planned to kill Mr. Barrett because you interviewed her?
No.
Then how can you explain her shooting in the backyard the day of the incident?
I can't.
You also said she killed him out of fury, correct?
Can you repeat the question?
You said she killed him out of fury.
Yes.
So she was thinking when Mr. Barrett said that he was leaving her, she came to the conclusion if she couldn't have him, no one else could?
No.
Then why did she kill him?
Because she finally came to realization of what he had been doing to her for all these years.
Then that means she came to the conclusion that since she couldn't have her, no one else could?
No.
Also, is there any proof of the beatings?
No.
So if there is no proof, then do you think Mrs. Barrett is just insane in seeing things?
No.
But you said she was insane.
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. Badgering the witness.
Overruled.
Did you know that in Mr. Barrett's letter that he said that Mrs. Barrett had a drug habit? Did you know this?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect? Very good. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next witness.
May I call Barbara Allen Barrett to the stand?
Yeah.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give to the court and jury in this trial shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Ms. Barrett, just before we begin, you have spoken to your attorneys about your right to remain silent, correct? All right, and you've chosen to testify in this case? Are you in agreement with counsel on testifying on this case? All right. Very good, thank you.
Please state your name for the jury.
Barbara Allen Barrett,
How old are you?
47.
Do you have another family?
I have 2 children from my previous marriage. Their names are Catherine and Todd.
Did you depend on your husband?
Not financially, but he was my best friend and I didn't want to lose him.
When did you meet John?
In 1978, in an alumni function for Bazaar.
How steady was your marriage?
It was shaky. I loved John a lot, but he still beat me and I didn't know why.
How bad were the beatings?
Sometimes they were very violent. I one time ended up in the hospital.
What happened at the hospital?
If anyone asked, I told them I'd fallen down the stairs.
Why didn't you contact the police?
I didn't want John to get in trouble. I needed him.
Whom did you talk to for counsel?
I spoke to my pastor and some doctors who prescribed tranquilizers to help me cope.
What time did your husband come home December 18th, 1988?
Around 9,
What did he tell you during dinner?
he told me that he wanted a divorce.
What happened after your, what happened after you left the room?
He took off his belt and came toward me. I thought he was going to try and kill me with it.
And what happened after that?
I don't remember.
Who arrested you?
Officer Cheney?
Where were you when he arrested you?
I don't remember.
Did he read you your rights?
No. If he had, I never would have given a statement.
So did you make a statement?
I did, but as I said, I wouldn't have if I'd known I didn't have to.
And who did you call?
I called my sister and then my lawyer.
How long has Lee Porter been working for you?
About 6 months.
What is your opinion of Lee Porter?
I wouldn't trust anything she says because the day John died, I caught her stealing money from his personal drawer.
That is all I want.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
May I accuse the court, Your Honor?
Okay.
Miss Barrett, do you believe that you're insane?
Could you please rephrase the question?
Do you believe that you're capable of clear thinking?
I don't know.
So you don't know if you can think clearly or not?
I don't know.
Okay. Why did you shoot your husband 5 times?
I don't remember doing that.
Objection, non-responsive answer.
You're from the state. You're objecting to the state's question? Generally speaking, I reserve my objections to be made by the attorney that's asking the question.
Okay.
If they're handling it, because then they can make a determination as to whether or not they're satisfied the answer is the answer to the question they've asked. So I'm going to leave those to those. I'm not going to rule on that one for now, and we'll see if Mr. Weldon feels like he wants to object to the answers. All right? But we try not to spread it around the room too much. All right, thank you, Mr. Holman.
Do you have a drug addiction?
No.
But I would like to enter the Tootsie letter into evidence, which in the Tootsie letter, Mr. Barrett, it's the letter from Mr. Barrett to his mistress, and it states, it talks about that you have a drug addiction, and that's one of the reasons why he left, or why he wanted to leave. So, and also, Mr. McDaniel asked you if you had the Miranda warnings read to you, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you answered that they had not been read to you, correct?
Yes.
But I would like to enter the confession with officer's warnings into evidence. That states that you signed something saying that you were read the Miranda warnings.
I was very disoriented at the time. I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
It forced me to do it.
But you see, I would like to enter CM Cheney's police report into evidence.
Mr. Walden, I'm a little confused on what you're doing here right now. Are you admitting each one of these, or are you trying to do the foundation for admission of them? Because at each one, if you're trying to admit them now in evidence, I need to turn to the defense on each item and ask them if they have any objections to those items. If you're just laying your foundation right now and you're not trying to move them in evidence yet, then please proceed. So far, I haven't taken any one of the 3 into evidence. I know the court has placed them here, but I haven't looked at them yet, and I won't give them to the jury unless they get admitted into evidence. So if you're moving them, that's fine. I'll ask defense if they have any objections on each one.
Okay.
Is that what you want to do?
Yes.
All right, defense, do you have any objections to either the letter, the police officer's report, or the witness statement?
No, Your Honor.
All right, hearing no objection. All right, so moved. They're in evidence.
Okay, so in the confession with officer's warning paper, you said that you signed that that you had the Miranda warnings read to you, and you said that, I'm sorry, what did you say? What you said before?
I said that, well, he forced me to say that I had been read the Miranda warnings, which I had not been. I would never have made a statement if I knew I didn't have to.
Okay, in the police report that I had entered into evidence, it says that at no time did he ever force you to sign anything.
Yes, but I was very disoriented at the time. As I said, I did not know what I was doing.
But in your police report, he said that he did not make you sign anything. And you're saying that he made you sign something.
Well, he did.
But you did.
Objection, Your Honor. Badgering the witness.
Overruled.
Okay, but when I entered the police report into evidence, which said that you were not forced to sign anything, you said, you did not object to that, so.
Could you please say that again?
Your team did not object to the police report, and the police report says that you were forced to sign, or that you were not forced to sign anything.
I was forced to sign it.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. When you read the record.
No, Your Honor.
All right. May this witness step down?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Barry, you may return to your seat. Hence, any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right. All right. State, you ready for a closing statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, you ready? Is it double yes?
Yes.
All right. State's ready? All right. Who goes first?
May it please the court?
Okay.
Members of the jury, Your Honor, today we have seen proof that proves Mrs. Barrett is guilty of murder. As Lee Porter testified the day of the incident, she heard Mrs. Barrett shooting in the backyard and was later seen coming through the back door with the murder weapon in her hand. Was it just a coincidence that Mrs. Barrett was shooting in the backyard the day she shot her husband? She was told by Mr. Barrett only a few days before the murder that he wanted a divorce, as said in her witness statement. Yes, we are sorry for the abuse that she went through, but she did have a way out. She could have left him. She could have had a divorce. The man that was shot was not innocent, but he did not touch her the night of the murder. He did not deserve to die. The night of the shooting, Mrs. Barrett had told her everything. Mr. Barrett had told her everything, and that he said he was leaving that night. As Lee Porter testified, he had not been drinking that night and was not in a bad mood. But Mrs. Barrett had yelled at him. She said, "You will be sorry for your actions." Mrs. Barrett left the room angrily. And then she came back with a Smith & Wesson .38 caliber revolver. She shot at him 6 times, hitting him 5. As Lee Porter witnessed, she saw Mrs. Barrett with the gun pointing at Mr. Barrett, and Mr. Barrett on the couch, bleeding, bloody in his right leg and his left arm. And the only thing he had in his hand was a letter, not a belt. So she ran out of the house. When the police arrived, they found her in the bathroom yelling that she loved John and did not want to hurt him. But if she didn't want to hurt him, why did she shoot him 5 times? Of course, we were all wondering, she must have a reason for her actions. But when Sam Cheney asked her if he had threatened her in any way before she shot him, or even feel threatened, she answered, no. But in her witness statement, she said John Walker Barrett had been walking towards her with a belt and was going to choke her and kill her. But as Lee Porter witnessed, the only thing he had in his hand when she shot him was a letter, not a belt. Can we believe anything that Mrs. Barrett has to say about this case? This proves that Mrs. Barrett planned to kill Mr. Barrett. That this was murder, not self-defense or insanity. Thank you for your time. Please make the right decision.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Defense? Okay. Please.
Good evening, Your Honor, opposing counsel, and members of the jury. We are here today because my client, Barbara Barrett, was falsely accused of premeditated murder. The prosecution has tried to prove that my client, Barbara, planned to kill her husband. Their attempts to confirm this were in vain, though, because the defense has made it clear, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Mrs. Barrett is innocent on account of these reasons. A, premeditated murder means that it was planned beforehand. Barbara had no way of knowing her husband would want a divorce. Therefore, she had no reason to shoot him or to plan beforehand. Barbara Barrett was severely beaten by her husband on multiple occasions. She was beaten so many times that she was not in her right mind when she shot her husband. Lee Porter's evidence that she was beaten. He heard her getting beaten and even scream one time. He knew something was wrong with their marriage. The only reason he didn't see any bruises was because he was not looking for them, as he says in his witness statement. As you have heard from our expert witness, Dana McGuire, that these beatings resulted in a severe case of battered woman syndrome. This was simply, as he said, a tragic end to a tragic marriage. Another proof that it was not premeditated murder was that the shots were not accurate. Joe May examined the body and the bullet wounds were not close together. There was even a bullet in the wall. This proves that she was not an accurate shooter, which means that she wouldn't have been practicing, which proves it wasn't premeditated. If she had been practicing in the backyard, then the shots would have been more accurate. Lee Porter claims that Barbara was practicing in the backyard, but he also said that heard something like a car backfiring. But he completely and conveniently rejected the idea. Barbara Barrett was accused of premeditated murder. However, I am here to confirm you, members of the jury, that is simply not true. Barbara could not and should not be responsible for John's death. Barbara Barrett has 2 children whom she dearly loves and has no criminal record. As you can plainly see, Barbara Barrett is not an evil or hateful person. So why would she purposefully kill her own husband, when in her witness statement she plainly stated that she could not live without him? Today you have heard from an expert witness whose name is Dana McGuire. He is a professional psychologist. He has told you that my defendant is a severe battered woman who made mistakes in her marriage choices. This poor victim of abuse was beaten to the point of insanity by her late husband. She had no way of knowing the news her husband would give her that night. She had no way of knowing what her tormented emotions would cause her to do that night. The state had been trying to portray Barbara as a cold-hearted murderess, but I am here to confirm that this is not the case. Barbara is just like any of us, except for the fact that she was repeatedly beaten by her husband. She reached the sad state of learned helplessness. Because of this woman's poor condition, we request that the jury submit a verdict of not guilty by reasons of insanity and battered woman syndrome.
Thank you, Mr. Buchanan. All right, in the rules of this court, we do not do a second portion of our closing statement. Is that correct? All right, so each side now has completed their presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and is it ready? Are we ready now for the jury to deliberate?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we are adjourned.
All right.
The jury is deliberate.